going on, guys? Alex here with TFL Off-Road, and that behind me is the all-new 2025 Yamaha RMAX4 1000. And there are a ton of big changes to this vehicle that we need to go over in this video. We're gonna get it out on the trail here in Utah, see what it's like to off-road, and talk about everything they've done to majorly improve this vehicle for 2025. Let's go hit the trail.
All right, well, we are headed out on the trail. We're here in Utah in the San Rafael off-road area, just outside of Green River, Utah. Now we're gonna get to some more extreme off-roading in a little bit, starting off a little tame, a little flat, but definitely dusty in the early part of this ride. Pretty beautiful day though. It's gonna be a fun one, and we're gonna dive deep into everything you need to know about this new RMAX4 1000. They've taken the RMAX4 1000 and they've stretched it out, made it much more comfortable for rear seat passengers, gave it a dumping cargo bed. We'll get into all that in a little bit. Also some huge tech improvements, more switchable modes, more settings you can dial in, upgraded components and the brakes and the diff. There's a lot to go through here.
So this is really an all-new model in the RMAX lineup. So for the past couple of years, you could get an RMAX2 or an RMAX4, but nothing was quite this long. So what Yamaha's done is they've renamed the old RMAX4 the RMAX4 Compact, and they've now come out with this new model, which is even longer and has a 40% increase in rear legroom and footroom compared to that older RMAX4 1000 Compact. So that Compact has a 90.2 inch wheelbase. This gets much longer at 118.1 inches, and instead of the old system in that Compact model where the rear seats would slide forward and kind of gave you a little bit of a cargo bed area, these are now permanent rear seats that are much more comfortable for adults to sit in. A lot more storage options back here now, better grab handles, just a more comfortable place to be for long days of off-roading, and you get a more serious cargo bed. So rather than the little cargo bed on the old model that the seats slid forward and it was kind of always stationary, this actually gets the dumping cargo bed that you see on the RMAX2. So this is actually the same exact bed. So all the accessories, all the different mounting systems, everything that you could have used on the RMAX2 will transfer over to this and work pretty perfectly. It also gives you really easy access to your engine underneath you here. It's much longer now, much more comfortable for rear seat passengers. These rear doors are a lot bigger than they used to be, so getting in and out of this machine much easier. Plenty of knee room in here. While I'm back here, I'll talk a little bit about what it's like to sit in this back seat. Plenty comfortable. I've got this nice pad over here that's kind of keeping me in the machine. The seats are nice and bolstered. I've got this grab handle with some nice rubber texture on here right in front of me, which is a huge improvement over the old RMAX4 that just kind of had a bar in the back. Visibility isn't amazing. I'm kind of staring right into the back of this headrest here, so I do wish I was sitting up a little higher, had a little more aggressive stadium seating, but still it's a pretty comfortable space. There's a nice rubber textured knee pad here down on the doors, so my knee's not going to get all banged up. And then we've got some really impressive storage options here. So obviously the front seat has a center console as well, but rear seat passengers still get USB ports and a huge storage bin that stays pretty dry. 2 cup holders back here as well, and then kind of the shallower rear storage area that's also pretty well sealed. You can throw your phone in there maybe, and then put some bigger stuff like snacks and other things you need for the day in this big one. This is also the more premium model, so the rear doors have speakers in them, whereas on the more base model XTR, like that one right there, just the front doors are going to have speakers. But overall, major improvements to the rear seat area. Obviously a much longer vehicle now, and if that's an issue for you, the RMAX4 Compact is still available. Also, I did want to point out the cargo capacity, 600 pounds in the bed right here, so it can dump with 600 pounds still in it. It is strut assisted. Maximum cargo capacity is 1,366 pounds all in, so that's passengers and cargo. And having this bed on here is a pretty big deal, because in the old RMAX4 1000, it had okay cargo capacity if you had the rear seats folded and you were just carrying 2 people. But if you had all 4 seats filled with people, you really barely had any room to carry anything in the back. So forget about bringing a cooler or, you know, storage totes or spare parts, whatever you might want to throw back there. Now you have a much larger cargo area that's usable even when all 4 of these seats are filled.
You know, people always say side-by-sides are so expensive, you should just go buy a pickup truck, but pickup truck would not handle this the way this side-by-side is right now. This trail is actually getting a little tight, and even with this long wheelbase machine, it's still managing it just fine. So some of that really tight stuff, you might think you need the more compact machine, and if it gets a little tighter than that, yeah, the compact is probably the way to go, but turning radius on this is still pretty good, even considering how long it is. But yeah, really good power out of this machine. Same 1000cc parallel twin that the RMAX has been using for a few years. It is a loud motor. I wish it was a little quieter, but power is amazing. Man, this machine is giving me a lot of confidence right now. Suspension is great, at least in this limited model. A lot of times in a side-by-side, you'll jab the brakes or put in quick steering inputs and feels kind of floaty. You're not sure what it's going to do. This is so predictable. And I think a lot of that is the suspension improvements. A lot of that is also the long wheelbase on this makes it so stable, but I'm pushing this vehicle a lot harder than I do some side-by-sides. Part of that's the brakes too. These brakes feel really good. So I know if I come up on something and I need to stop, it doesn't take much to get this thing slowed down. Really impressive so far.
Now for suspension, there's 2 different options you can go with. So if you get the XTR model, you're gonna get the more basic Fox QS3 shocks. So they are adjustable, but you gotta get out, use your hands, adjust the clickers right there. If you go with the limited model, the more premium model, you're gonna get the Fox IQS shocks. And these are adjustable from inside the cab with a little switch on the dash. So you can see the 3 settings there. You have comfort, you have medium, and you have firm. 14.2 inches of travel in the front, 16.9 inches of travel in the rear. Those are the same suspension travel numbers as the RMAX2. Ground clearance is 13.8 inches, which is a little better than the compact model, the RMAX4 Compact. It's about 0.4 inches more ground clearance than that model. 30-inch Maxxis Carnivore tires, and on this limited model, you're gonna get an aluminum wheel. If you look at the XTR model, you get a beadlock wheel. Me personally, I kind of like the look of the beadlock wheel a little bit better, but Yamaha says this compared to the RMAX4 Compact, suspension comfort has been improved at all different speeds. So whether you're rock crawling or going high speed out in the desert, it's just going to be a little bit more comfortable. They've changed the tuning a little bit, obviously, for this longer vehicle, but some pretty impressive suspension setups. I'm really liking the IQS shocks that are here on this limited model. It's fun going through the different modes, and you can actually feel a difference between the different suspension modes. Brakes also have seen some pretty major improvements compared to the older RMAX models. So we now have new calipers and new knuckles, and stopping power has been increased, brake feel has been increased, and you can definitely notice that in the pedal. It does not take nearly as much force to get good stopping power out of it. You don't need to mash on this pedal, and it feels really good. So welcomed improvements in the braking department.
All right, we've got a little rock ledge here. Let's see how it handles this. It's getting a little steep. Breakover really would be my only concern here. Going to low gear too. Just get a little more control out of it. We are also going to switch it into trail mode, or crawl mode, sorry. Super easy. Doesn't feel tippy at all. Very nice. That definitely wasn't the easiest line through there, but made it through no problems.
Standing inside this old cabin right now. It's called Swayze Cabin, and you can find cool cabins like this and awesome trails yourself by using the RMAX Off-Road app. You can download it using the link down in the description below and find sweet spots just like this. You can download all your maps offline in case you don't have cell service, and they just added turn-by-turn trail navigation. So if you're looking for an easy way to find some cool spots along your off-road route, definitely check out RMAX Off-Road. All right, let's jump into the interior because there's a lot of changes in here, and I want to walk you through some of what Yamaha has done. So this new TFT cluster in front of the driver, that's all new for this year, and it's exclusive to the limited model. So XTR model gets a little more of a basic cluster, but this looks really good. It's super easy to read in super bright sunlight. Still a little hard to see when it gets dusty, but quick wipe off, and even when it's dusty, it's a lot easier to see than like an LCD dash setup. And there's a lot of information there, so all good stuff. You can go through and customize the style of it. So there's a few different styles you can choose that change the layout. So that one's pretty cool. I've been leaving it on the standard one most of the day. You can adjust colors, you can, change your trip computer, all kinds of cool stuff you can do in there. Now, just to the right of the cluster are your drive modes, and these are all the same as they are in the older RMAXs. So you have sport, trail, and crawl. Full power in each one of these modes just changes how the throttle is mapped and how power is put down to the ground. So you're gonna get full power no matter what mode you're in, but you can kind of change the throttle response. And they also added these pretty sweet splash screens, so if you're doing this on the fly, you don't really even need to look down at these modes to see where the selector is. You can kind of just glance over at the screen and get a good feel for what mode you're in without looking down at that. So the splash screens are new, but the modes, those have been around for a couple years. Now over on the left-hand side, you've got your lighting controls and your four-wheel drive selector. This is partially new, so you still have two-wheel drive, four-wheel drive, and diff lock, but you now have a new turf mode, so basically puts it into one-wheel drive in the rear, so you don't tear up your lawn or leave marks in your driveway, and that's a welcome change. And then the diff lock, although this was here before, the front locking differential, it now engages a lot quicker. It doesn't cut ignition anymore, so switching into the front diff lock mode is just a lot more seamless now. Also, this is all new, is this EPS switch, so you can actually change the feeling of the steering between high, standard, and low. So low is less assist, high is the most assist, super boosted steering in that high mode. Yamaha says that this new electric power steering system has a 62% increase in electrical power and 121% increase in available torque assist. And something pretty cool is when you switch into the front diff lock mode, no matter where the switch is, it will automatically be in the high settings. So you're not fighting the steering wheel if the front diff is locked. Even if you're in low, it'll give you the most assist possible in the steering wheel to make it easier to turn the wheel with the front diff lock engaged. I've kind of been leaving this in low mode most of the day, which is pretty on par from what Yamaha tells me with some of the older RMAXs that didn't have this adjustable switch. Now you just get a little more boost if that's the kind of feeling you like. Winch controller off to the other side, and then a ton of blank switches you can pop in if you install light bars. You do have a 12-volt connector here on the dash, as well as a USB type A port. Not a big fan of the placement of that. I also wish there was USB-C. It's just really hard to see what you're plugging in because the flap opens upwards. So Minor, very minor complaint, but I wish that opened downward, and I'm sure you could pop that out and spin it the other way. And then this is a big change as well, is this new 7-inch Adventure Pro display. You can see you got a lot of information on the home screen here. It's now brighter, easier to read. It's got this nice matte anti-glare coating on it as well, and it shows you everything you need to know that's going on with the vehicle, all your temps and everything. You can go in and look at your map, trip computer. I really like this screen here that shows the status of the 4-wheel drive system. You have new pitch and roll indicators as well. Music controls, if my phone were connected, you could play it here. Really, really loud sound system. You've got a rear camera as well, which is good enough. Resolution's a little on the low side, but definitely works to get you backed up. Front camera's coming soon, according to Yamaha, but not available at the moment. And then you've got a little settings screen, and this little cover kind of pops out, and you can remove the whole display as well, or install it if you bought a lower end model that didn't come with that.
Did not expect to be this impressed with this RMAX. I am beating the crap out of it, and there is nowhere this thing can't go. It is super easy to completely forget how much machine is behind me. There's a lot of side-by-side behind me right now, but this machine still feels so maneuverable, changes direction really quickly. And there's some spots on this trail where it gets kind of tight, a little narrow, you gotta turn real quick, and I have not had to throw it in reverse once to get around the corner. I know side-by-sides are super capable, but not every side-by-side I get into gives me this feeling. This RMAX4 1000 is making me feel like I can take on anything at any speed. Just feels like it can go absolutely anywhere you point it. Super capable, super fun, the right amount of power, really easy to drive and feel like you're in complete control the whole time. I'm really impressed. I am absolutely loving this long wheelbase version. This is pretty awesome. I've kind of found my sweet spot for settings, at least for this trail that I'm on right now. I've got the drive mode in trail, which is kind of the middle setting, gives me good control. 4-wheel drive is engaged, but obviously the front diff lock is not engaged for most of this trail. I've got my suspension set to firm. I've kind of bounced back a little between firm and medium. The comfort setting I think is a little too soft for most applications, but I'm really most of the time using firm. And then power steering I've got most of the time on low, which is the least amount of electric assist. I like the steering wheel to be a little harder to turn, especially on this kind of terrain. So that's kind of been my sweet spot for settings, although everyone's got their own preferences, which is why this is so great. With all these different settings, you can really dial in the driving experience exactly how you want it. Here's a good ledge right here to test out the locking diff, which now engages a lot quicker. So simple flip of a switch. Front diff lock is engaged. Probably should have been in low gear there. A little bit of a bump, but it's all right. We got skids on the bottom of this. Made it up, no problem.
And then as far as style goes, I really think Yamaha killed it with the look of this RMAX, and this design's been around for a couple years, but I think it's one of the more aggressive looking side-by-sides on the market. I love the front end design with these kind of skinny running lights and the headlights down below. Just think it's a really good look. This one's got a couple accessories on it, like this windshield in the front. It's also got this rear window with the sliding glass portion, just like a pickup truck. It's also got some rock rails going down the side, which are pretty beefy. Nice skids underneath. But there's tons of stuff you can throw on these. This one's got side mirrors too. You can put all different kinds of windshields, different heaters, skid plates, A-arm protectors. There's so much you can do to these machines. Proportions look pretty good on this machine. It doesn't look ridiculously long, even though it's a lot longer than the outgoing RMAX4 or the RMAX4 Compact. It's not really outgoing, they're still selling it, but yeah, good looking machine. A couple of other things worth noting on the interior here. We have a center storage area where, again, you can plop things like a phone, sunglasses, things you might need out on the trail. A little more of a storage cubby up here and a storage slot up here, but anything you leave in those is going to get pretty dusty, so don't want to put anything too valuable in those compartments. This one is equipped with a rear view mirror, which makes it pretty easy to see what's behind you. Of course, the side mirrors as well, which I'm a big fan of the side mirrors. I think these are kind of a must-have if you're going to take these out on the trail, especially doing high-speed stuff. And this one's got one of the more premium glass windshields with a windshield wiper and sprayer, but there's a ton of different windshield options available. And then this roof is standard. Also, we have a manual parking brake right here, and then your gear selector with low, high, neutral, and reverse. No park gear. And then over on the passenger side, I've got my helmet hanging off of it right now, but we have this adjustable grab bar, so that slides in and out. You've also got a tilt function on the steering wheel with this lever right down here, so you can tilt it up or tilt it down. Doesn't telescope in and out though. And then behind my helmet there, you can kind of see a little bit of a glove box there. This one's also got the accessory door bags that are screwed into the door here, so gives you a little place to stash like a map or just some other things that'll stay a little more protected and out of the dust. All right, well, there you have it, the 2025 Yamaha Wolverine RMAX4 1000. Super impressive machine. I can't believe how hard you can push this. It just climbs up everything you ask it to, and not once did I have any sort of doubt that it was gonna break down or get stuck or anything like that. Super, super impressive. Now, there's a lot of vehicles in Yamaha's Wolverine lineup, and this is kind of at the top end of all of it. Earlier this summer, I looked at some of the Wolverines, which are more of their entry-level side-by-sides. This one is getting up there in terms of price. They are available and on sale at dealerships right now. Starting price is $27,999. That's for the XTR trim. Price goes up a little if you want the limited, like you see behind me. That starts at $29,199, which is a good chunk of money. This new four-seater with the extended wheelbase is about $1,000 premium over the outgoing compact models, although the starting price for the compact is a lot lower because you can get it in a lower tier R-Spec version, whereas the long wheelbase version you see here only comes in an XTR and a limited trim. We get comments all the time, people complaining about the pricing on side-by-sides and that you should just go buy a pickup truck, and I think, you know, sometimes that can be a fair argument, but especially with how capable these are and how hard we're pushing them, there's no pickup truck that would climb up some of the stuff we were doing today. So I'd really love it if people would stop comparing the prices of these to pickup trucks, because although for some people they're the same kind of vehicle, if you're like working around at your property and taking out the trash with them, yeah, a pickup truck could get the job done just as well. But if you're coming out on trails like this to run at high speed and have fun, you really can't beat a machine like this, and especially this one with the long wheelbase. It's so good at going super high speeds and flying down in sandy, loose terrain. I gotta say, I'm really, really happy with how this RMAX performed. One of the best side-by-sides I've been in this year. The only negative thing I really have to say about it is the engine noise sometimes can get a little overpowering, a little loud, especially if you're in it for hours on end or a full day, but it really didn't bother me all that much. It's a great machine. Definitely recommend checking this one out if you're in the market for a new side-by-side and one that can haul a lot of gear, haul your whole family. This is one you should be taking a look at. Thanks for watching. Check out alltfl.com. See you in the next video.